Hi, my name's Matt Locke, and this is the Everyday Athlete Podcast, the podcast for the everyday athletes around the world who refuse to be average and who want to create a legacy of health, fitness, and achievement in every aspect of their life. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it's time to forge your future. Jenn Ryan, welcome back to the Everyday Athlete Podcast.
I'm back.
It's great to have you back, and
Thank you.
You haven't changed a bit at all since our last chat.
Still good and tan. Still good and tan.
That's exactly right. But for those who haven't yet listened to your first episode, where you talked about your road to the games as an everyday athlete, and if you haven't and you're listening, I would encourage you to do so. If you could just give a very short, introduction to yourself, who you are, and what you're about, please.
Yeah. So I'm Jenn Ryan. I live in beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. I am a nutrition coach and an ER nurse. I've been an ER nurse for 11 years. I've transitioned more to doing online nutrition coaching. So still working with people, which I guess is my favorite thing to do. I'm also, I guess I'll call myself a CrossFit athlete. Yeah, I'm a master's athlete. I'm 40. I've gotten to compete at the CrossFit Games 3 years. This year would have been the fourth. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have my 2 pups, 2 dogs, and that's kind of me. You'll probably see me either posting things that we're talking about my dogs, talking about CrossFit, or work.
No, well, you're preaching to the converted. We've got 3 dogs and 2 cats in our household.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Fur kids coming out the gazoo. But what are your puppies' names?
Oh my gosh. Jordan is my 3-legged Yorkie mix. And then Paris is my over 16-year-old Pomeranian Terrier mix. So one is 10 pounds and one is 5 pounds.
Yeah, there you go.
I gotta keep them small.
And what's the, very quickly, the missing leg? What happened there?
That was right before I got her. So I got her at about 3 months old. And I think when she was like 2 months old, something happened. It was fractured or something like that. And unfortunately, it didn't heal properly. So the owner left it at the vet, and I was blessed enough to take her from the vet. So
sounds like she was blessed as well, let me tell you.
She's awesome. She's literally the happiest dog ever.
Oh, she doesn't know, right?
No, she literally has no idea.
That's
oh my gosh. She scares me with some of the stuff that she does. I'm like, no! But
she's not feeling sorry for herself and complaining about a missing leg because she doesn't know and doesn't care.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
No, absolutely. So, well, thank you for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be talking to you again. And when I first stalked you, for sure it was around the whole CrossFit. You're winning and going to the CrossFit Games again this year, to find out that actually that wasn't going to be the case. But then I was really interested reading your website, lifelineperformance.com. I have to say, I love the way that's written. It felt like I was learning about you rather than just what you do, and which is wonderful. And I was really interested if you could share with us today. Let's talk about how your nutrition has changed. And obviously, you're someone who obviously is competing and performing at a very high level, but you also look amazing and you feel amazing, as you talked about last time. And that's so important. It's not about aesthetics necessarily. It's how you feel, how you can perform. And yeah, it'd be great to talk about how your nutrition has changed over the years, and then really importantly, how you're applying that same learning for your clients and your athletes.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
When did
nutrition has changed?
When did that really pop onto your radar, I suppose?
Nutrition in general. So I don't know if you'll find this funny. I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but I started paying attention to my nutrition in high school. Actually, I think I was a freshman in high school, freshman or sophomore. And one day I just decided, I told my mom, you know what, I'm not drinking the 2% milk anymore. I'm going to need skim milk. And if we didn't have skim milk, I would put a little drop of 2% in like the bowl and then add water because I didn't want the fat, right? Because I'm 40 now. So back then, everybody was afraid of fat, right? Fat made you fat at that point. And I also decided I wasn't going to eat any kind of meat besides chicken breast and turkey and some fish. Yeah. So that was when I started to dive into nutrition. I would take my own little jar of fat-free salad dressing to school every day. I would get a salad from the salad bar. Most people tend to do because we don't quite have it all figured out. I would also sometimes get a cinnamon roll. I had these little inklings of trying to figure out nutrition. A lot of it had to do with my body image and the way I wanted to change how I looked. And so that's where it all started. And those were the little things that I started doing. From there, I changed through.
Sorry. Just before we move on, I understand the motivation, and that's not uncommon. And sadly, even today, that's a very common motivation. But where were you getting your advice from at that point then to make the decision about, fat being bad and I'm only going to eat white meats and even particular cuts of white meat? Where were you getting your information from at that point?
I honestly, I don't remember. I don't know. I think I just started paying attention to different magazines. I was probably reading some kind of health magazine or something, seeing, meal plans handed out. My mom, so none of this really comes from my family, which is strange because when I work with people now, I hear so much of the way people's minds are shaped around nutrition and body image. It does come quite often from a parent or a grandparent or a family member, right? But no one really in my family paid a lot of there was not a talk of dieting or things like that. And so I think it came from other feelings that I had, image, self-image, things like that about myself. And so I think the information that I was getting was most likely from magazines and things that I was reading. So I think that's it, right? Because back in the day, we didn't even have cell phones then. So, and the computers, there wasn't like a lot of Googling all this stuff. And certainly what's available now, I couldn't even have fathomed back then. Right. And so, it wasn't as easy to get a hold of, but maybe in the grocery store, I was pulling a magazine off the shelf, right? Things like that. And we all know what some of those say on the front, right? Like, eat helpful. This or stop eating this and you'll drop this or you'll look like this celebrity. And of course, that's where I was getting my
do
information.
This for 7 days and look like this.
Cabbage. I don't know if anybody can remember this, but here in the States we had the cabbage soup diet, or eat grapefruits. Grapefruit only will help you lose fat. I mean, these are the times that I was living in, I wonder who
funded those studies.
Oh my gosh. Oh, geez, Louise, when I think back to it, but and then, there was the Atkins diet, the South Beach, all these things. And then going through my 20s, I was kind of reading things like Oxygen magazine and all of this. So I continued to be very interested in nutrition and health and fitness. I decided to go the route of becoming a nurse because I was very interested in health and fitness and nutrition. I didn't know how to make the connection, though, with what I wanted to do at the time. But even back then, I was so interested in it and I wanted to work with people and also I think figure it out for myself, because I was struggling. I was struggling so much. And again, we didn't have Instagram. We didn't even have Facebook until I was like in my late 20s. That's how old I am, people. I got my first cell phone at like 19 or 20, I think, 20. And so, right. Those were crazy times. And there wasn't as much, there was information
mainstream
out
media
there.
then. I mean, it would have been old school mainstream media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then fast forward to when I started CrossFit, of course, paleo was the rage, of course, back then in 09, 10, 11, when I started paleo and zone. And so I tried both of those. And I'll tell you my turning point and where I really fell in love with nutrition and CrossFit and what it could do for you was when doing like paleo and starting there. And then I started to also realize that if I wanted to feel good, perform good, and just be where I want to be in CrossFit, I needed to eat more, and I couldn't be afraid of food. And all of this nonsense from the past had to stop. Yeah. And I started eating more. And I introduced red meat back in one the coaches that I worked with at Carolina CrossFit back in South Carolina took me to this amazing burger place, and I ordered a burger, and I remember them all staring at me as I took a bite, and I was like, oh, what have I been missing for so long, you know? And I remember just thinking, I want to be strong, I want to be healthy, and I want to feel good. I'm so sick of this, you know, being afraid of food. And so I just kept reading more and more. The CrossFit Journal used to have so much out there on nutrition, very much about, of course, zone and paleo. And so there's only so much paleo you can eat when you're trying to put on size and fuel yourself well for CrossFit, as I began to find out.
Right, yeah.
Yep. So fast forward then to 2014, I began working with a nutrition coach who kind of introduced me to macronutrients and eating for performance, first and foremost. I was not put on any kind of a diet. I didn't just get sets of macros. She showed me how to eat around training. The first thing she said to me was, do you realize that your your food intake sucks for an athlete? And I was like, what are you saying, you know? And I started to learn how to use food as fuel. And that literally was just this aha moment. And I was no longer afraid of food. And it was the start of just where I am now.
It probably felt at the time like a seismic shift in thinking, but now I imagine it just feels so natural and right.
Yes.
That I imagine that's what you're absolutely trying to accelerate, that aha moment for your clients, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. And especially, and I work with so many different people, so many different athletes. It could be someone who is just starting to work out, or it could be someone who has been working out for a while, and just kind of needs a change, and just, you know, has been kind of where I was, almost afraid of food, not understanding what your body actually needs to achieve what you want to achieve. Because quite often, if you're eating for performance, you're going to see most likely a better body composition as well, right? And that's the really cool part that so many people are missing out on. And that's what I was missing out on, you know? So yeah, I love when people start reporting back things like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. And then suddenly they are changing the way they look, and they're finally like, oh, this is what I've been trying to be like all along, you know? And they went through the same thing I did.
What I love about a diet shift, a change in diet, and by diet I don't mean weight loss, just in terms of what you eat diet. I love how profound it can be for people if they haven't had a great diet. If they literally just clean it up, this is before getting longer term results and body composition changes and so on. Just within a few days, even, people can just feel so much better.
So maybe like, oh my gosh, I'm sleeping better, or I don't feel groggy later in the day, or oh my gosh, I'm not as bloated, or my digestion is better. I'm like, yeah, that's a big sign, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And hopefully then that fuels the motivation, because the better we feel, I mean, if you do something that feels good, well, you're more likely to do more of it because it feels good, right? I mean, that's the way the brain is wired. And so that's one of the things I love about people who go clean up their diet and they immediately almost feel some incredible results. And then, yeah, sure, if they can sustain that. And I'm interested to hear how you work with clients and make things sustainable. I mean, we live in a world of 6-week challenges, 8-week challenges, the Biggest Loser type shows, and so on. But actually, I'm much more interested, I'm sure you are, about enduring improvement in health and wellness, and diet is really at the heart of that. I mean, it has to be. It's the fuel. We wouldn't put diesel into our Ferrari, would we? So why would we pour junk into our bodies? I mean, and expect them to perform like a Ferrari? That's just not common sense. So I'd really love to hear your thinking around your whole approach, your philosophy, I suppose, of installing something that becomes a sustainable and enduring way of life.
Yeah. A big part of it is giving people information, but not just spewing out something from a book or spewing out something I read, actually applying it to each person. So I always start out by talking with someone on the phone. Like my first, we may first communicate via email or if someone messages me, but I'm always getting on and talking with someone because I need to know how do I help you not need me anymore down the road, So, and there's so much you can get from somebody in talking to them one-on-one as opposed to just through email or just through like an intake form. So that's a really important piece of it to me, is talking with someone, not just about, hey, what did you eat yesterday? What are you eating now? Okay. Right. Kind of finding out a little more about what makes them tick. And then, okay, what can I help you change first? And how can I educate you on why this is important for you? Right? Not, you can throw out generalizations on things, but how many people are gonna be like, you're not talking about me. Okay, well, how can I let you know that I'm actually talking about you. And this particular piece of it does apply to you, but let's see how we can help you figure that out.
Kind of installing a sense of ownership, isn't it? If it feels like it's personal to me, now I own that piece of information.
Yeah, it's not just info from a book, like everybody should eat this, Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. Ownership. Yes, exactly. I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure. So,
education.
Yeah, absolutely. So one step at a time. I know I'm not a swim coach, but I've done quite a lot of swimming, and I was so bad to start with. I remember the little tips, tricks, and techniques I was taught, so I'm able to impart those to people who are not great swimmers. And it's right. It's the same philosophy, I suppose, where if I was to say to someone, right, okay, now next time, change the position of your hands, change the position of your head. Oh, and don't forget about your feet. Oh, and by the way, do this, and give them 3 or 4 things to try and adjust in one go. That's not going to work. They're overwhelmed. It's too much. The human brain often can't cope with that anyway, and becomes unachievable. And so it sounds like you also, one step at a time. Let's work on the first and most important thing and get that under control, and next. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah. Yep. And taking a look at more than just, okay, you're going to put me on a diet right when I start working with you. I'm like, you know what? Like, let's take a look at everything that's going on here first. And maybe we don't need to like diet right away. If you feel like crap and, everything else is kind of in the gutter, let's talk about how we make all of this better first. And then you'll probably start seeing things on the outside start changing. So that, I think, is a really big part of it. And again, not just throwing out generalizations like, hey, you need to sleep more. Hey, decrease your stress and eat more veggies. Well, somebody's going to be like, okay, like, thanks. I don't even know what to do with this. And so again, that's where it's kind of like talking through every part of things with someone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I talk to about their sleep, and they're like, they start out with telling me, oh yeah, I sleep really great. Oh, well, and then I'll ask a few more questions like, yeah, my 2-year-old sleeps with me. Oh yeah. And they wake me up like a bunch of times a night. Oh yeah. My old dog, I gotta take them out like 2 times a night. And then, maybe my significant other snores. You know, I guess I don't really sleep very well at all, Jen. And I'm like, but it's if you just were to have an intake form where it says, how do you sleep? Or how many hours do you sleep? What's your sleep like? They'll initially just give you that. And then it gets completely like thrown to the wayside. And then someone wonders why like their body composition, performance, and like, carbohydrate and, tolerance is where it is. And we're missing like this really key part. And then I don't just say, oh, well, then you need to sleep better. Well, okay. Then we're breaking it down and we're talking about why. And I'm talking about, hey, this is the little piece that it's affecting, so it's all these little things. So that's my approach I take. It doesn't matter who you are, even, the athletes, the elite, and the athletes who are just the everyday athletes, right? They all got to start the same. We got to look at every single little thing. I can't just hand one group macros and another group of people hand you this. Everybody's got to start with the same little things, because I've made that mistake in the past of just jumping right to something. And then we have to come back and completely revamp something and be like, whoa, wait a second. We have completely missed over some of the most important things. And so I start everybody out with the same kind of, the same thing. We got to go through, just like when I'm a nurse, you got to triage someone.
Yep.
And there might be 4 people that come in with abdominal pain and nausea and vomiting. Okay. But that's just the start of it. There's going to be basics, right? So I'm going to get a set of labs, but if someone's only got abdominal pain and just, and that's it, but someone's got abdominal pain with nausea and vomiting, I'm going to get a different set of labs maybe, or further labs, or maybe you're going to get fluids and the person with just pain isn't, or there's going to be different diagnostics, right? So there's always the basics, and then there's the next, the treatment, and that's what's different, and it applies uniquely to each person.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Henker from Wonderfit retreats and the program, he does the programming for our events. He's head of programming, and he also he and the team provide coaching services around fitness coaching and so on. And I've always loved his approach. It sounds similar to yours, I have to say, which is why I thought to mention it. But it starts off with learning about the individual, sleep, stress. How is it at work? How is it at home? How's everything? Every aspect of that athlete's life, to be able to even think about what it is that's required to move them forward towards whichever goals they have stated. And it might well be that it's not the programming that's the starting point. It might be the sleep, it might be the de-stressing, it might be any number of things. But that's so important, and we are all different. We all have different makeups, different bodies at the end of the day. The nuances, our own nuances, let's say, to our life. And so, it sounds like a really, obviously it's working. It's worked for you and it's working for your clients. So, given that our audience here is, absolutely everyday athletes, a fairly broad range, therefore, what would be your sort of 1 or 2 key takeaways, piece of advice for them if they're looking to, I guess, improve their wellness, their performance, both? What would be some general, you see, what are the general themes that come up that you give advice around?
First and foremost, I would tell people to take an inventory of yourself. So take different feedback areas and rate yourself. Be honest about it, right? Energy levels, your mood and motivation, your sleep, stress, your hunger, your libido, your training, these areas, and rate them. Where are they at from day to day? You got to take that self-inventory first, and take into account digestion, right? All these things. Know what you're starting with, because if all of those are in the gutter, then you kind of have your starting point, right? And so I see a lot of people who don't do these self-assessments, all they see is what's in the mirror, and they immediately go the opposite direction. And they'll take advice on nutrition on, oh, okay, I need to do a calorie deficit. I need to eliminate all of this. I need to take out carbohydrates. I need to do this or that. And it's like, whoa, you didn't even take a self-assessment on where you're at yet. So number one thing before any of that is just rate yourself, because then at least you have a starting point.
Do you mean as in 1 to 10, 10 being awesome?
Yeah. 10 being great, or even could be 1 to 5, just 1 to 5, nice and easy, right? And just rate those different areas. And then you can start to say, okay, now what's the next step? Cool. So then the next step that I usually give to people is to say, okay, well, now where is your health at, right? If you just need to start being healthier, if you've kept yourself a food log and you take a look at it and you don't have much variety and it's a lot of white, like processed, a lot of processed foods are white, right? So next thing is like, hey, add some color. Let's add color to your plate. Because now if any of that feedback is kind of in the gutter, we start adding a little more color, a little more volume. Now we're going to start seeing some of that increase. You're getting more micronutrients and quality, right? So now you're improving quality. If you are self-assessing and you're super stressed, not sleeping well, always tired, add color and add some volume, right? So add a little bit more volume to your plate.
Yep.
But add volume in the right stuff, in that color. So those are the couple of key points I would say is self-assessment with those items, and then taking an assessment of what your plate looks like, of what your daily intake looks like, and improving from there.
No,
those are some starting points, because you can assess continually then from there on all of those things,
fantastic advice. Thank you. And of course, you've already mentioned the coaching services you offer are online. So if anyone listening was interested to reach out to you,
absolutely,
and have that chat and maybe become a client of yours, how would they get in touch with you to do that?
Yeah, you can get in touch with me a couple different ways. If you've just got some questions on anything related to nutrition or lifestyle, you can always
pull it back to about nutrition. Nutrition.
Don't ask life nutrition, or I'm sorry, life advice, because sometimes I say do as I say, not as I do. Especially to the kids that I train with who are in their 20s. You don't want to know about me back in the day. Nutrition or lifestyle, nutrition around like training or, doing a competition, things like that. You can always send me a message on Instagram. It's Jenn__Ryan. I don't mind chatting with you there. I'm on Facebook at Jenn Ryan. You can message me, or you can send me an email, jen@lifelineperformance.com, or you can go out to my website, lifelineperformance.com, and you can hit contact and get in touch with me there. So any of those ways, like I said, I don't mind answering any questions that you've got too. So people can always shoot me a message.
And all of those links will be in the show notes for sure.
Cool, thank you.
When we release this episode. So I could talk to you all day, Jen. And I've got a couple of questions for you once we're finished. But nonetheless, thank you so much again for being so generous and giving with your time, your knowledge, your expertise. And I didn't say it at the end of the last one, so congratulations again for an amazing result this year, and looking forward to seeing you smash it out of the park again in 2021. But we'll stay in touch, and again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. This has been awesome.
Well, there you have it. Thanks very much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. And if you think that one of your training buddies would also enjoy this, go ahead and share it with them right now. With that said, thank you once again. And as always, be brave, have fun, and lead by example.